Hello guys, Toxico Serial. Welcome back to another Brawl Stars video. Today, we're going to be doing a tier list based on how much skill is needed to rank every single brawler. Now, there are 75 brawlers. Now, Kit came out today at the time of recording. I believe Kit will be 2 days old when the release of this video comes out. And I'm on my computer this time, so I'm hoping the mic quality is better. And, yeah, I know that's been an issue. It was a clear issue in the last Hypercharge video I did. It was just horrible quality. So I'm hoping it sounds somewhat decent. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I just want to keep this video nice and smooth, ranking every brawler based on how much skill they take. It also has Larry and Laurie on here too. They're not out, so I can't kind of be guessing for them, but I don't want to spend too much time. I do want to thank y'all for 800 subscribers, and now the video, I'm at 782, and I probably thanked you for 800 in the last one, but I'm 100% confident I'll be at 800 by the time this video comes out. If I'm not, I look like a fool. But yeah, and also, if anybody watched the most recent short, I ranked 10 brawlers based on, well, you guys had to figure that out, and there is one person who got it. So if you don't want me to spoil, I'm gonna have a little wording on the top that's going to say spoil answer. Just skip until that thing goes away and you should be okay if you are curious and you want to watch the video yourself and try to figure it out. But I did have a guy comment the correct answer, and it was based on one of the videos I did a long time ago and based on brawlers I would date. Now, I did it in male and female perspective, so if it was a male brawler, just pretend I'm a female person in real life. Obviously, I'm not, so it was kind of hard to rank it, but there's this one guy who got it. I did forget his name. I'll have it pop up right here. Actually, no, I'm not going to do that because that gives away the answer. I'll put the name, though, of the guy who said it, just to be nice to him and give him a little bit of recognition, because apparently he watches my channel. He also knew, I believe he was the same guy that commented on another thought or another answer idea. He said it was based on your favorite brawler. He said Nani's my favorite brawler, and he would be correct. So he's definitely a fan of the channel. I'm very happy of that. So shout out to this guy. I forgot your name. But anyways, let's get started here. So we're starting off with Shelly, and before we do, I'm basically ranking it on how much skill is really needed for the main attack, star powers, gadgets, the super, and even the hypercharge if they have one. How much skill is really needed for that part of the brawler? It's basically all aspects put together, how much skill is needed. And starting off with Shelly, the starter brawler, let's be real here, she doesn't take that much skill. I'm putting her in the D tier because you kind of have to aim every once in a while, but overall, Clay Pigeon's her best gadget, one of the best gadgets in the game. You auto-aim that gadget almost 100% of the time, let's be real, that takes no skill. You auto-aim her super most of the time because it has such a wide radius, and the hypercharge, all it does, it literally makes her super wider, so it's less skill. I'm not putting her in the F because maybe at long range you have to aim Clay Pigeons, but most of the time you'll have to auto aim with this. You auto aim with this brawler. For Nita is basically the same. You just throw Bruce, but the thing about Nita is you kind of have to group up with Bruce to get synergy with the first star power, but overall in Heist you just throw Bruce on the safe, he goes to town. I'm going to put Nita also in the D tier. I don't think she takes as much skill either. Now for Colt, this is a very easy one for me. I suck with Colt, so I'm putting him S tier. It is not easy to hit his shots whatsoever. Now the recent reload speed buff, I'll be honest, makes him a little bit more cheesier, and then the one gadget as well where he reloads 2 ammo. He can just spam out shots like crazy, but it still takes skill to hit his shots, and that's why I'm putting him up in the S tier. Now for Bull, he's a tank. You auto aim with him most of the time. His Stomper gadget, you have to time it right, and you can make some good plays with it, but overall, you're auto-aiming with this brawler 99% of the time. He's going in the D tier. Brock is, I would say, a long time ago, if you are a new Brawl Stars player, Brock's shots did not used to explode in the radius they currently do now. But honestly, even though that's the case, I feel like he's still one of the harder brawlers to master because his shots are not easy to hit. His projectile speed is quite slow, but it is not hard. It's not that hard to hit his shots at max range because they explode in such a wide radius. I'm putting him in A tier, but you can put him in S tier. I won't disagree with you. Now for Primo's another tank that you auto-aim most of the time. You will have to aim his super at maximum distance, and then for the Asteroid Belt gadget, sometimes you want them to be in a good positioning, but other than that, you're auto-aiming 90% of the time, D tier. Barley is a thrower, and you can't really auto-aim throwers. You can auto-aim Barley when they're close, and then in the sticky syrup mixer, because once they're in it, they're toast most of the time. But other than that, you have to aim his super. You'll have to aim his attack. He takes some skill to hit shots. He's not a higher skill cap thrower compared to a couple other throwers that we'll get to, but he definitely is up there. So I'm going to put him in the B tier. You can even argue A tier, but I'm not putting him in the S tier. Now, Poco, he has a very wide attack. You can either play passive Poco with the Da Capo star power or aggressive Poco with the Screeching Solo star power. Either way, I don't think he takes that much skill. I'm putting him also in the D tier. And for Rosa, all right, let's be honest. This brawler is auto aim everything. It's F tier. I don't need to talk about Rosa. For Jesse's projectile speed is quite slow. It's not the easiest shot. However, you just have to pray that the enemy team groups up. That way you can get value out of your chain bounce. You don't control the chain bounce. It takes no skill. It literally is if the teammates have brain cells or not for it to bounce. Same thing with her super with the Shocky star power, but let's random use Energize, because that you have to hit the turret, and that's very good. Try to keep that turret alive. I'll put her in the C tier. I don't think she takes that crazy amount of skill to play. You can argue B tier, but anything above B tier I think is too high. Next, Dynamite. This is by far the hardest thrower to use. He has a fast movement speed, which is good, but his shots are not easy to land. And you only auto aim with Dynamite if you land the Satchel Charge gadget. You have to land the gadget. It's not easy to do that. I have to put him in the S tier because it's very, very challenging to hit his attacks. I'm terrible with this brawler too, just like Colt. He takes a lot of skill. Now for Tick. Tick is another thrower. Let's be real, Tick does not take that much skill. I will put him in the C because you can't auto aim with this brawler, but the super does everything for you. It just runs to the nearest enemy, and then the shots spread out in such a wide cone, and it really doesn't take that much skill. Next, we have 8-Bit. 8-Bit's a slow-moving, longer-range brawler, and I'm gonna say A tier. He's very similar to Colt in some ways. It's harder to dodge his projectiles, but 8-Bit has a super that just increases damage. That's not skill. It's literally just a super. I'm putting him in the A tier. And now for Rico, I think this is an easy one. It's S tier because you need that trajectory for Rico. You have to make sure you can hit shots with Rico. If you hit shots, you're going to succeed. And you have to figure out the geometry with multiple bounces. I'll be honest, the one thing that doesn't take skill is the multi-ball launcher gadget, because you just press that gadget and anybody that's right next to you just goes deleted in a second. But overall, you have to have good geometrical skills to succeed with this brawler. Otherwise, this brawler is pointless without his bounce projectile. For Daryl, you have to aim a super, that's for sure, and you can get a good double hit and put them in a stun lock. But other than that, you're auto-aiming most of the time with Daryl because he doesn't have that much range. But he's definitely a little harder than brawlers like Bull, so I'll put him in the C tier for that reason. For Penny, Penny's shot isn't the hardest to hit, and she also has a salty barrel, which you can shoot at, which you have to aim at. Otherwise, you're just going to aim at the brawler and probably miss salty barrel. I don't know, depending on where the brawler is at. But the thing about Penny is her motor, and that is literally the lowest skill. You just drop it behind a wall, and it does all the work for you. She's very similar to Jessie, so I'll put her in the C tier. For Carl, so Carl is an interesting brawler. You can't really auto-aim with Carl because you have to kind of wall poke, and his super is auto-aimable, but you have to control the movements, etc., etc. And Carl also has his gadget to help him a lot. I can't put him anywhere above the B tier for me, but I think B tier is solid. Alright, Jackie. Do we really need to talk about Jackie? She's an auto-aim brawler. Like, if you aim with Jackie, what are you doing? Next up, we have Gus. And Gus's shots are surprisingly not that challenging to hit, at least in my opinion. He also has to have good timing with the gadget. If you have a slow reaction time and you mistime that gadget, you're not going to hit the enemy. You gotta throw out the attack, press the gadget, and you're going to kill a brawler most of the time. Or at least bring them to very low HP. But overall, I think Gus, his super also isn't crazy. To hit either, it can be a little challenging. Now, most of the time I use it on myself, but at least you can throw it on a teammate rather than the other brawler that has a very similar thing that we'll get to in a little bit. I'm actually, oh, there he is. I was like, is he even on this list? But yeah, he's there. I see him. But Gus, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Now for Bell. Bell recently got a damage buff. His shots aren't insanely difficult to hit. His mines you just throw and hope the teammate has negative 1000 IQ and hopes that they walk over the mines. But you kind of have to walk over them in some choke points. So it doesn't take much skill there. However, his shots aren't the easiest to hit. I'll put him in the C tier because it can be a little bit challenging to hit his shots every once in a while. But overall, it's not that hard to hit his projectiles. Moving on to M's, another tank counter. So many tank counters in the game. That's why tanks are terrible. But Ems is not a hard brawler to play at all. You auto-aim her super almost 100% of the time, and her attacks are very auto-aimable as well. Sometimes you have to aim them at max range, but not really. She's a tank counter. She shreds through them. Just auto-aim and then use her gadget to knock them back. It's not very much skill. For Stu, there's only one correct answer. It's the S tier. Now, Stu is a very fun brawler to play, which is why a lot of people know how to play this brawler, but it is very, very challenging. Even myself, I struggle to chain two supers with one attack. It is a very hard thing to do. He takes a lot of skill to get full value out of Gasso Heal, and can be a little bit skillful too to maneuver around projectiles, continuing to get super after super. Once you get in range, though, and they don't have the DPS, you're going to get a kill most of the time, but he's still S tier without a debate. Moving on to Piper, I can't put her in the S tier for a couple reasons. First of all, the homemade recipe gadget is a skillless gadget. The auto aimer gadget is also a skillless gadget. She has two skillless gadgets, and she also can auto aim with a pretty decent range because her projectile speed is so quick. She can melt tanks with the snappy sniping star power just by auto aiming. It's not that much skill, but other than that, she's definitely one of the higher skill cap brawlers, A tier. For Pam, Pam is an interesting one. Pam has a not really skillful super, but with the Mama Squeeze star power, you kind of have to throw it, and you also want to get it in good positioning too. So that can be a little interesting to have some good points. Pam's attack shreds people if you're right next, but most of the time her projectile speed isn't crazy fast, so you do have to aim with her. And her Scrap Sucker gadget, to get the full value, you want to try and hit as many shots as possible. I'm going to put her at C tier. I don't think she takes a crazy amount of skill to play, but she's not a skillless brawler. Now, for a Big Chungus here, I'm going to put him in the F tier only because not because he's a terrible brawler. He doesn't take that much skill. You really can't have skill with a terrible brawler like this. Frank, I'm not saying he takes no skill. He's a trash can of a brawler. So I can't put him anywhere above the F tier because all you do is you run into people and feed their supers. That takes no skill. You're just running into the people. You want to help the enemy team. That's no skill. Literally, you're just helping them. It doesn't take skill to help the enemy team. Next up, we have BB, and I want to put her in the F tier too for the same reasons as Frank, but I can't do it because BB actually takes some skill, especially when trying to position her super in a good spot. So just because of that, I put her in the D tier, but she's also a trash can of a brawler, just like Frank. For B's an interesting one. At max range, I'll be honest, her shots are very hard to hit because she has such a slower projectile speed. But once you get a super onto an enemy brawler, it's auto aim central. And that's the reason I'm putting her in the B tier, because her super just makes her attacks auto aimable. You literally takes no skill to use her once you have her auto aim. She's also a tank counter, but she can be used in game modes like Bounding or Knockout to counter because she has insane damage with her 4K shot. But I can't put her anywhere above the B tier because her super just makes her attack auto aimable. Now, my favorite brawler, Nani, and it's S tier. Like, Nani's shots are one of the hardest in the game. You have to control her super. You have to perfectly time return to sender now. You can't just brainlessly press that gadget and just wait for a Piper to shoot at you just like it used to be before. Because before, it used to have an infinite timer. It would go until somebody hit you. They nerfed it to a 5-second duration, and then they nerfed it to 2 seconds now just to tie it with Surge's gadget Power Shield. But overall, it takes a lot of skill to play Nani. Her shots are some of the hardest to hit. It can be very hard to hit all 3 shots consistently, which is why I put her in the S tier. But I'm very good Nani because why? My favorite brawler. Moving on to Edgar. And now Edgar is a short-range brawler, the shortest range in the game. He does take some skill, though, because you can't just brainlessly jump onto a brawler and just kill them every time. That's not how it works, because you can get countered out. Yes, his hypercharge is brain dead, that's for sure. I will agree with that. His Let's Fight is brain dead. His hardcore is also kind of brain dead. But you have to be careful of how you play Edgar. And for that reason, I'm going to put him in the C tier, because you have to master how you play him in 3v3. In Showdown, you just grab boxes and go ham. But I'm trying to do this in mainly 3v3 because solo showdown is brainless right now with the new brawler kit that's just completely broken as hell. Miko with the freaking power cube bug, and it's just teaming everywhere. You can't really play solo showdown above a certain amount of trophies. I believe it's like 700, or Miko is just everywhere. And when Kit comes out and a lot of people start unlocking him, he's going to be everywhere unless he emergency nerf him, which I'm hoping he does get emergency nerfed before this video goes out, because holy crap, Kit is so broken. For Griff, you have to aim at range, but he's a tank counter too. His gadget takes no skill. His other gadget's trash, never use it. His star power is automatic for you. I'm putting him D tier. He doesn't take that much skill. Grom is another thrower. His super is not that hard to hit. His main attack, though, can be a little challenging because of his pattern. It's not that hard to dodge. But he's annoying. I hate this brawler, but I have to put him in the A tier because he can take some skill. For Bonnie, another one, her projectile speed nerf did put an impact on her, so it definitely rises her up in the skill ranking a little bit. But most of the time, you'll auto-aim at close range. You'll just brainlessly run into the enemy with a Sugar Rush gadget and then super onto them and auto-aim. I'm going to put her in the B tier. I'm torn between B or C. For Gale, Gale is most of the time you auto aim with Gale. Maybe not. I don't know. I don't play Gale really ever. He's like one of my least favorite brawlers. He's a pretty decent brawler right now though because of the freezing snow star power. I think I'm gonna put him C tier. His attacks are very wide. His super's wider. If you get somebody stunned with the blustery blow star power, you literally get a free kill most of the time, and you can just auto aim central on him. But he can take a little skill. I don't know. I'm torn between Gale. Some people might even think he's lower, but I don't think he's higher than C tier. Colette. Colette is another interesting one. I don't think she takes the craziest amount of skill. And it can be hard. It can take skill to chain super, but most of the time I auto aim her super. She's another tank counter. She destroys the high safe with her hypercharge. But I'm also going to put her in the C tier with Gale. Her projectile speed is pretty quick, so you can auto aim most of the time. For Belle, Belle has by far one of the hardest supers to hit. I struggle to hit Belle super. Her attack is pretty quick, though. It's not super hard to hit, but it is a narrow attack and can be a little challenging to hit. Her bounce projectile is just based on the IQ of the enemy team. But overall, she's definitely a harder brawler to play, so I will put her in the A tier. And she also has the reverse polarity gadget, which also takes skill. Ash, another tank that's really struggling right now. I'm going to put him in the D tier. You kind of have to auto aim most of the time, and then you just throw the rats and hope they hit an enemy brawler. It doesn't take that much skill to play Ash. For Lola's an interesting one. Her attack can be a little challenging to hit. Her super is also, if you want to position it right, it can take skill, but most of the time you drop the super on top of you just to deal the extra damage. That doesn't take the greatest amount of skill, but her attack is kind of challenging to hit, so I'll put her in the B tier for that reason alone. For Sam, a lot of people are torn between if Sam takes no skill or he's very high skip. I personally think he's more in the higher skill cap brawler because you can't just brainlessly go in and try and kill enemy after enemy after enemy because then they'll pinch you out, and if you waste one super, Sam becomes the worst brawler in the game without his super. But you also have to be precise of how you use his super to try and get as much value out of the healing star power as possible. And I'm going to put him up in the A tier. I think Sam can be a little harder of a brawler to master. Once you know how to play him, though, he can become easy. And yes, that gadget is a little brainless because you just press it. They get in your super, and then you can just delete them afterwards. But other than that, playing Sam can be a little bit of a challenge. He's also not that great of a brawler right now. Now we have Mandy. Mandy's an interesting one. Either A or S for me. Mandy's really doesn't have everything you have to aim with Mandy. The only time you don't aim is if you hit the caramelized gadget. But that gadget is very, very, very challenging to hit, though. And also, Cookie Crumbs can be a good surpriser. I'm going to put Mandy up in the S tier because Hitting her super is also not the easiest thing in the world, and if you hit 2 people with the super, you get another super back. It's not an easy thing to do against very good players. Now, against noobs, obviously it's not that hard, because noobs are noobs. But I'm sitting at about the 56,000 range trophy range. I cannot speak proper English once again. So yeah, it can take some skill. It takes some pretty decent skill to hit Mandy's shots. Now, with the star power, it can be a little bit easier, but you can't auto aim with this brawler unless you hit the caramelized gadget. For Maisie, one of the best brawlers in the game right now, her main attack is hard to hit, I will say that. However, the gadget super combination is not that hard. Now, it takes a while. I always mix it up where I actually use the gadget first, then the super. It's the other way around. You hit the super first, then you use the gadget. But other than that, Maisie is definitely a good. Well, she is the second best brawler in the game right now, without a doubt. She might even be the best. Oh no, I'm kidding. Kit's the best. What am I talking about? But she's one of the best brawlers in the game. She's top 3 easily. But her hypercharge is also insanely broken and it needs to get nerfed. I'm torn. I want to put her high, but it doesn't take that much skill to get a team wipe with because of the hypercharge. Now, without it, it can be a little bit, but you auto aim her attack with the Tremor star power. I'm going to put her B just because her main attack is one of the hardest in the game to hit without the help of the Tremor star power. Now, for Hank, Hank is an absolute trash can of a brawler. So I don't know where to rank this brawler because you have to aim with him, obviously. You can't just auto aim with this brawler. But at the same time, this brawler sucks. So who cares? I'll put him in the C tier because you have to aim his main attack. His gadget takes no skill. His super is trash. You just auto aim it on a tank or anybody that gets close to you. That's kind of it. You just aim his attack. But this brawler sucks, so who cares? For Pearl, I'm going to put in the C tier as well. I feel like her attack is very similar to Pam's in a way. It's not that hard to hit projectiles because it's a decent range. She also has insane damage once you charge the heat. You just got to wait for it to charge. That doesn't take skill. You just wait for the heat to charge. That's not skill. That's just waiting. And then she also has the gadget that also just gives extra damage. It doesn't take skill either. It's literally giving you extra free damage if you hit a projectile. So, but yeah, C, she has the same attack. Now, Larry and Lori, they're not out yet, so I don't know how I can rank them. But based on what I've seen, they seem extremely broken because they have the most health for a thrower. Their damage is insane, and then they also have a very game-changing super that you can literally switch their weapons with, and he becomes a shotgunner that deals insane damage. So I don't know. I'm going to start off in the B tier just because he's a thrower and his projectile speed he's not the easiest thrower to hit. But I can't really, this is a predetermination ranking. He could easily be higher or lower depending on how people use him. Now for Mortis, I mean, it's S tier. It has to be. His Mortis is very, very challenging to chain supers with. You have to aim his super almost 1,000% of the time because literally, the more you chain his super against more people, the more supers you get, and this allows for a better team wipe for Mortis. Mortis also, you have to be strategic of how you use his main attack. You also have to use his gadgets very wisely. You have to try and utilize the star power as much as possible. I use Coiled Snake. I think Creepy Harvest is not really needed on Mortis. Now, it's helpful, that's for sure, but I don't know. Mortis is really good. The only thing about is this Mythic gear. It's really not that good. You don't really need it. But he's definitely S tier, without a question. Moving on to Terra. She's kind of a tanker. She's kind of a hybrid brawler. Like, she counters tank, but she also counters single shot brawlers because of her support from Beyond gadget. Now, her gadget and her super really take no skill. You auto aim her super most of the time, honestly, just to get 1, maybe 2 people. Her super is such a big radius that anybody that's caught in there, you just auto aim their attacks. But it can be hard to build up her super. I will put her in the C tier, but I can't go any higher. For Jean. Now, Gene, I auto-aim with Gene a lot. His super, you kind of auto-aim most of the time because it's super big. But you can tank Gene's pull. Gene's not a very hard brawler to play. You kind of just sit by teammates with a Magic Puff star power. If anybody gets too close to you, you just use Lamp Blowout, or you use Vengeful Spirits on game modes like Bounty or Knockout, or nobody's ever going to get close to you. And then you just kind of have to pull at the right timing, which is not very hard, because anyone who gets pulled basically is dead no matter what. Put him in the C tier with Terra. So Max's projectile speed's very quick. She has a gadget that really doesn't take the greatest amount of skill. Her other gadget sucks, so nobody cares about that one. Her super is literally just have your teammates around, everybody gets speed boost. It's similar to Jean. I'll put her C tier. Mr. P. Mr. P. Mr. P. His attacks aren't the craziest to hit. They're not very fast, they're not very slow. His super is the skillless thing in the world. Porters just keep spawning nonstop until they destroy the porter hut. D tier. His super is carries him. Not like, yes, Mr. P has a decent amount of HP with the shield gear, but his shots, they're not that hard to hit. Let's be real. Now for Sprout. I'm thinking A or S, okay? Sprout, you cannot auto aim with whatsoever. If you auto aim with Sprout, you're never going to hit your shots because he has arc on his shots, which means they always will go up in the air and then come back down before landing. His shots are constant. They're the same as Grom's, where his shots take the same amount of time to land. And his super, you can't really auto aim it either. You kind of have to aim it in a spot where it's going to help Sprout, but not hurt your teammates, though it might not be throwers, and also give Sprout better positioning with his wall. And you can also take a major advantage of his wall because if you put it in a tight area, it'll cover the whole thing. So I'm going to put Sprout up in the S tier because you can't auto aim with him. It takes pretty decent skill to hit his shots. For Byron, Byron is an interesting one. He's very similar to B and Piper and in his attack. His projectile speed is slower than Piper's, faster than B's though. It is also Piper, but he doesn't have the craziest DPS. I'm gonna put him in the A tier because he has that gadget which definitely takes the skill level down a little bit, and his super is kind of auto-aimable on almost every enemy brawler, and also you can just throw it on yourself to heal, but it is not that easy to hit his shots, and you also have to have good team synergy to hit your shot. Honestly, I don't know. I might put him in the S tier because you have to hit your teammates too. I'm going to keep him in the A tier, but if you think Byron's in the S tier, I'm not mad because you have to have good team synergy and you have to hit your shots on both the enemy and your teammates if you want to keep them alive. If you think if you think Byron's an S tier brawler, I'm not mad because I think anything below A is a little too low. For Squeak, now his projectile speed is very quick, but it is not that easy to hit his projectiles, but there's such a big radius. The residue gadget just blocks off a choke point. His super can be a little challenging to hit. I'll put him in the B tier. For Lu's attack is one of the hardest in the game to hit, without a question. However, once they're frozen, auto aim. Super, you'll aim it where you want it, but then once you get the hypercharge, auto aim the super just to hit the opponent. He doesn't take crazy amount of skill. I'll put him in the B tier though because it is very hard to hit his attack without the help of his super or anyone being frozen. Colonel Ruffs. Very similar attack. The same thing as Rico. His projectiles bounce. But the thing about Colonel Ruffs, though, is his super is kind of a hit or miss for me in terms of skill cap. Most of the time, you'll give it to your teammates where they could take advantage of it. But if you want to use it on the enemy brawler, that's fine. His gadget for the sandbags, you just press it and he's tanked. The other gadget also takes no skill, it just covers an area of the map. I can't put him in the S tier with Rico just because the only thing that really takes skill is his main attack. It's not the easiest to hit. But, yeah, I'll put him in the A tier though. For Buzz is is a very bad brawler at the moment. He's kind of a hit or miss in terms of skill cap too. It can be challenging to hit his super, but his attack auto aim like 1000% of the time. And then you also have his gadget where you can just get another super. I'll put him in the C tier just because his super is very hard to hit. Now, Fang is interesting because he has a star power that takes absolutely zero skill and makes him one of the best brawlers in the game, and fresh kicks. However, you have to aim his attacks at range, and it can be challenging to get it. But once you get your first super, you brainlessly just spam that super, and then hope you get a team wipe. I'll put him C tier just because you have to aim with his attack. But if you want to put him lower, I'm not mad. Eve is an interesting one. Because Eve's attack isn't the easiest to hit, but I don't find it very challenging to hit Eve's attack. Her gadget just spawns a hatchling. I mean, it can take a little skill of where you want to go, but not really. Her super takes no skill at all. You just throw it behind a wall. The hatchlings do the work for you. Same thing with her Happy Surprise star power. I'll put her in the C tier just because it's hard to hit her main attack. Janet. Janet is B or A for me. She's not S because you have to aim with Janet unless they're right next to you. It's not hard to hit her projectile, but you also have to have good coordination with how you control her super because it is not that easy to hit her shots. Her gadget, you just click, it deals damage, and it keeps the enemy low. No skill. Well, her other gadget, though, does take skill because you need to have good plays. You need to hold it down for the right time, and if you're trying to escape and you hold it too long, you might fumble the bag. I will put her in the A tier just because she does take a little bit of skill to use her super coordination, but B tier is also fine. Otis. Otis is a C tier, in my opinion. His super is, I auto-aim it most of the time. He's a tank counter. It's not that hard to hit his super. It's very big. It's not a very quick projectile speed, but his shots aren't crazy hard to hit. You can't auto-aim with most of the time. The gadget, though, I mainly auto-aim, though, because it's got such a big radius. For Buster, I'm going to put him in the C tier as well. Buster's attack, you'll mainly auto-aim once you get in range. His gadget, slow-mo replay, takes no skill. You hit the Brawler, they're going to die. You miss the Brawler, well, then it's a skill issue. Even though that kind of just said, oh, there's Buster, he takes skill now. But, yeah, I think Buster's a prime C tier. For Gray, Gray is interesting. His attack is very challenging to hit. It's very narrow, it's not very quick, but once you get your super, you just brainlessly use it on, you just teleport onto somebody, and then you can make some cheesy plays. Overall, the only thing that takes Gray skill is hitting his attack at is at a higher range, B tier. For RT is an interesting one. His attack is not that easy to hit. It's very narrow, however, its projectile speed is very fast. His gadget is super brainless. You press the gadget when they're below 1400 HP. That's simple. And then he also has a super, if anything aggressive gets too close to him, pop super, delete, and then you get back into your base form because it takes 3 hits to recharge his super. So I'm going to go C tier. He doesn't take that crazy amount of skill. Willow is another brawler that doesn't... It's very similar to Barley with the main attack. Her super, though, is very challenging to hit, though. So that's where the credit gets built in. But I'm going to put her also in the B tier with Barley, just because they have the same kind of mechanics. For Doug, he's going in the F tier. Not only one is he a trash can of a brawler, he also doesn't take that much skill. You literally auto-aim his attack once you get in range, if you ever get in range, and 99.999999999% of the time, using his super, you'll use that on himself, because his teammates are carrying the Doug, so he probably won't even need the super. And once Doug wastes his super, he has to get another one. And the thing about Doug is if you use it on himself, you can get potential cycling. But you have to get his super first, which you almost never can do. So that's why he goes in the F tier. Because all you can do is use his main attack. And it's an auto-M. Chuck. The thing about Chuck, right? His attack is very challenging to hit if you're not right next to the opponent. His super, you have to aim because it takes good coordination. Once you figure out the post, then you can auto-aim his super. But you have to be careful of when you time Chuck. I have to put him in the S tier because Chuck takes skill for some new players because his mechanics are so unique that you can't just go around using Chuck to just randomly spam. It's just not going to work. I have to put him in the S tier. And last but not least, for the... Oh, wait, we have Miko, too. I'm stupid. Is Charlie, the second to last Mythic Brawler before getting to the Legendaries. Now, before the nerfs, Charlie, I would say, is like D tier. You auto-aim her attack most of the time. You press gadget. You auto-aim her super. You gotta be a little more casual, but I still am gonna put her in the D tier. It's not that hard to hit her attack. Once you're in range, you just auto-aim it. Her gadget takes no skill. Her super takes absolutely no skill to use. Like, it's so fast, you auto-aim it most of the time, you're going to hit it. I would like to see her super take at least some skill to hit. And then for Miko, Miko's interesting because he's very similar to Mortis. He has the slowest reload speed in the game. And yes, you can auto aim his attack when you're close to range. Same with Mortis, but you have to be careful with how you use him. He's a stronger brawler, don't get me wrong. His super also doesn't take the craziest amount of skill, but you got to figure out who you want to target because you can't go into a big boy tank because once you run out of ammo, you're gonna die because you can't escape until you get an ammo back. I'm gonna put him in the A tier. It might be a controversial one, but I think he takes somewhat skill to play. For Spike. Spike is interesting. Spike, you auto aim if anybody's in the super with the mythic gear. You kind of do have to aim a Spike most of the time, but overall, it's just if they can dodge curveball or not. If they can dodge curveball, then, well, rest in peace to Spike. If they can't, then Spike gets free hits, but that's not really skill. I have to put him D tier. I'm sorry. I know. He's a longer range brawler, and usually longer range brawlers take skill. But Spike, it's just based on if the enemy can dodge his attack or not. That's not on you, that's on them. For Crow, Crow is also similar. He takes a little more skill to Spike, but I auto aim with Crow a lot. His attack's very wide, his projectile speed's pretty quick, his range is okay. His super, you just gotta pick a target, jump on, you're probably gonna kill him most of the time. C tier. Leon. He's very meta right now with this hypercharge. You have to auto aim at far range. My bad. You have to aim at far range. You auto aim though at closer range. His super is auto aim, but you have to be careful of how you use your super because if you use it right, you can get insane value. However, you use it wrong though, you're in trouble. I'll put him B tier because his super can take precise timing. For Sandy doesn't take that much skill. You press Gadget, you get the stun. His projectile speed's insanely fast. He has insane wall peeking capabilities as well. His range is short. His super, you just aim at an area you want to throw it to. That's all. That's it about Sandy. I'll go C tier. Amber. You get in her range, all you do is auto aim. D tier. You have to aim her super, but you just wait until people get in her super, or you just burn the grass. But it's an auto aim attack. Meg. You kind of have to aim with her. You don't really aim her super. Once somebody's in range, you just press auto aim, swipe. They're basically dead if you get a hit with her super. And then when she's out of the mech form, it's not that hard to hit her attack. She has the star power to knock back enemies if anything aggressive is too close. She also has the shield star power to give her more survivability. And overall, prime C tier. Almost on 4 brawlers left, Surge. Surge is not that great right now. His gadgets take no skill. His main attack is almost auto-aimable most of the time. His projectile speed. His super, jump over walls, get kill. Gonna put him D tier. I don't think he takes that much skill to play anymore. Next up with Chester. Chester. The thing about Chester is his attack is super auto-aimable once you get to the 3rd and 4th sequence. You auto-aim it most of the time, you're gonna hit. You auto-aim it right next to the person, guaranteed hits. His supers, also auto-aimable. Not really most of the time, but he's got the candy one, auto-aim, no skill. He's got the stun one, which is definitely harder to hit. Once you get the stun off, no skill, you auto-aim. The bomb one, you aim probably most of the time, somewhat. The poison one, you kind of have to aim unless they're in range. It's very fast projectile speed, and then the slow one, it just sits there. Like I don't think there's much skill in Chester. He's not that great of a brawler right now. He also has a gadget that just gives him a random effect, and the other gadget changes super. Yeah, I think I have to put Chester in the D tier as well. Cordelius. Cordelius is an interesting one. For the casual noob players, is probably a D, maybe even F tier. But based on how you play Cordelius right now, you have to super them at the right time, and you can't just brainlessly play aggressive all of the time because his counters can still beat him. But a lot of them try to get in better positioning. I can't put him above the B tier because his attack is super auto aimable and his super is not that hard to hit. But just for team synergy, B tier. And the final brawler is Kit that came out at the time of recording today. This brawler is so broken, but where do I put Kit overall? I think I put Kit in the F tier. Why? Because he's completely broken, and it's a super. If you miss it, okay, I can't put him in the F tier. I'll put him in the D tier though because This super is not that hard to hit. If you miss it from directly on, oh, no worries. It's just going to go over the brawler. Puts him at a stun lock. His teammates can finish him off. He also supercharges very quickly. It recycles insanely quickly. And the damage when he's in the thrower mode against his teammate is absurd. And his shots aren't that hard to hit. But yeah, here's the list. Overall, it's okay. I'm sure a lot of people are going to be iffy about some choices, but yeah, that's going to be it for this video. I hope you all enjoyed. I'll see you next time.